If you're joining us, that means you probably just watched one of the craziest slates of college football that you will see this season, and we are here to break it all down, starting from some crazy overtime wins to some bad collapses.
That was an incredible week of college football, and we're going to break it all down in the juicer, not just at the start of the show. We bring on our good friend Jish Sokolsky, and I don't want to call my shot here, but I'm thinking a sweep today.
Already?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that hasn't happened in a while. We'll see if it happens with Jish today. A newcomer in the juicer, and we're also going to talk about some new plays of the week and our final words. You don't want to miss it. No Pulp starts right now.
The best performance, I think, all year from Ohio State against Oregon in the Rose Bowl.
They just don't lose at the shoe. She's the best player in women's college basketball in my eyes.
To stay alive, can they hook them? Touchdown!
They have the most prolific goal scorer of all time.
He will fire.
He's the guy.
I'm the guy.
Ian's the guy today.
Experience is what matters when it comes to Omaha.
Valuable. You know the number is everything for a team. First time, how are we feeling, Jake?
I'm excited to win the juicer.
You know, I'll never get sick of seeing that clip of the Gators winning the championship there. But it's football season, and we're going to talk about that on this episode of No Pulp alongside Adam Gotkin. I'm Adam Avin. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to get into everything, and we got to start, Adam, with maybe one of the biggest games of the season, if not the biggest. It was in Happy Valley, the whiteout, and Penn State falls short to the Oregon Ducks 30-24. James Franklin once again collapses. We're going to get into it a lot, but I mean, oh my God.
I mean, an incredible one. The whiteout at night, Death Valley. Thank you for having this whiteout at night, the daytime whiteouts. So done with it, but
last year wasn't good.
An incredible football game, goes all the way into overtime.
Yeah.
Nothing more that you could ask for to cap off what was really an incredible weekend in college football.
Well, if you're a Penn State fan, it definitely wasn't what you asked for, because early on it looked like they had the game in the bag, and after the game, James Franklin had to do some damage control. Listen to what he had to say.
Yeah, again, I kind of look at the entire picture. I get that narrative, and it's really not a narrative. It's factual. It's the facts. I get it, but I try to look at the entire picture and what we've been able to do here. But at the end of the day, we got to find a way to win those games. I totally get it.
I'm sorry, but I'm just.
It's a cop-out answer.
We've been hearing so many apologies and excuses lately. At some point, you got to just win the big game. I mean, I know we're so many years into the Franklin tenure at Penn State right now, but there's so many rumors of him going to other teams, like he's going to fix other teams' programs when he can't do it at Penn State, one of the best recruiting schools in the country.
Here's the thing.
What are we talking about?
I'll say this. Penn State fans, for some reason, have this belief that they're a blue blood of the sport and that they should be national champions every year. No, they shouldn't. Penn State should not be national champions every single year. Look, they're a good program. They're not at the level of your Ohio States, your Alabamas, and they prove it year in, year out that they don't have what it takes to win the big game. And once again, it happened. And once again, it was just simply, I think, bad coaching, bad play calling, and overall, James Franklin doing James Franklin things and losing the big one.
The Nittany Lions snap a 6-game whiteout winning streak with a loss to Oregon. Hey, maybe they have to go back to daytime. Maybe that'll help them out. Maybe the energy at night there in Happy Valley is a little bit too much. But look, we can talk about James Franklin all day. It gets a little bit repetitive year after year when he continues to lose these big games. But it's hard not to continue to harp on it. And we talk again with Drew Aller, a guy coming into the year as looking at as one of the premier quarterbacks in the league, who not only had a crucial turnover late in this game, first possession for Penn State in overtime, Adam, and he gives the ball away, gets outplayed by Dante Moore. Oregon comes in and takes all the energy out of the stadium. Can't lie, I had a couple friends there this weekend who were there watching the game from a bar in Happy Valley, and they just said all of the energy. You could feel it from the stadium, which was 5 minutes away. The whole place, silent.
I bet. And it was a very interesting game, the way that it started. I mean, the first half, 3-3 at the end of it. The under bettors like me were living life before just chaos in the second half and in overtime. But I think you really have to give all the credit to the world, to Dan Lanning, to this Oregon 100%. Coaching staff for going into Penn State and winning that game in a really tough environment. Even though I think that the Nittany Lion fans are absolutely insane and have way too high of expectations, it's still a tough place to win in that atmosphere. And how about Dante Moore, his first real big start to go into the whiteout and just show incredible poise. I mean, good to go 29 for 39, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. He just played not one of those games where he won the game, but he didn't lose it, and he did everything that was needed for his team to come out on top.
I mean, 11-0 in Big Ten regular season games since they've joined the Big Ten. Dan Lanning continues to prove it and prove it once again. Adam, they haven't won the big thing, right? They haven't won the championship yet. That'll come with time. I mean, all these guys have come through the Saban system, Lanning being one of them. He brought a lot of that to Oregon, and you're seeing it, and you're once again see why Dan Lanning outcoaches James Franklin in a big game, just like Marcus Freeman outcoached him last year. Right? James Franklin continues to collapse in these moments. And look, obviously the narrative is about him because he's the one running the program. He's the one leading the team. We understand that. But Drew Allar, you also have to, talk about the poor play late in the game because it very much is partial. Again, though, how do you not talk about James Franklin?
No matter who the quarterback is, the result's not changing. It doesn't change whether it's Christian Hackenberg or who's the guy with the song?
Wow.
Give me this throw it on a dime. Trace McSorley. Yes, whether it's him or now it's Drew Allar, it doesn't matter. They're losing these big games
all the time,
and it's because of the coaching. You said it, Dan Lanning. Coming from that Saban coaching tree. I mean, the job that Tosh Lupoy did, the defensive coordinator, another guy from the Saban coaching tree, who I think is on his way to a head coaching job, and how Penn State calls plays and the fact that you're just like, what are you doing? Run the football. Let's play smart football. They don't have it, and that Saban coaching tree just continues to beat
all the time.
Penn State, and that Saban coaching tree is dominant, and we had, one of the best guys to ever come from it, Kirby Smart, host a massive football game going on at the same time as that Oregon-Penn State one. Georgia hosting Alabama, and Kirby Smart has not been able to beat the team that he used to coach. The Crimson Tide come out on top, 24-21. A massive, massive win for Kalen DeBoer after he lost to Florida State in Week 1. Had a tough season last year to go on the road and be the first team to win in Athens since 2019.
Kirby Smart, a Nick Saban disciple, similar to Dan Lanning. He was there for much longer, though. Still can't top the ghost of his past. Similarly to James Franklin. Every year, the Georgia Bulldogs and the Alabama Crimson Tide face off. And every year, especially since not only Saban has left the team, but even a couple years before that. Georgia comes in as the favorites to win this game, time in and time out. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's him. I don't know. I mean, I know Gunnar Stockton's a quarterback, a little bit of an unproven guy. But once again, they fall to Alabama. And look, Week 1, sometimes it happens. Teams collapse. They bounce back. Kalen DeBoer and his Crimson Tide team this year maybe not be as bad as we think. But something's up with this team whenever they play each other. And I don't understand. They have too much talent to lose this game every year.
Look, here's the thing. I think part of it is that I don't want to say Kirby Smart's lost it because that's a massive overreaction. But you look at this Georgia team compared to the ones that were winning back-to-back national championships, and it's just not the same football team. First off, I don't think that Gunnar Stockton is the guy. You know my thoughts on Carson Beck. I've talked a lot about how I don't like Carson Beck on the show. I don't even think he's maybe better than Carson Beck. And the weapons.
No, he's not better than Carson Beck.
The weapons are not there. The running backs that Georgia's been known for so long aren't that impressive this year. They don't have a Brock Bowers or Ladd McConkey as one of their receivers. And that really showed, especially on third down where they go 2 for 8. It's an offense that just doesn't do it. They're not explosive. And, I don't think that this was that much of a surprise. Georgia did go on the road and beat Tennessee. I think that's so much more about Tennessee not being that great and Tennessee's defense being awful. I don't think that necessarily either of these teams are the top of the SEC, and I don't think that either of these teams are truly national championship teams. I don't want to say they're not contenders, because if you make the playoff, you're a contender.
Right.
I could see these teams being a 10 to 12 seed. I don't see either of these teams winning the title.
Right. Well, look, here's the thing. Chauncey Bowens, they were able to, I mean, look, when you have 12 carries for him to have 120 yards and a touchdown, that's pretty good. A lot of the running and the kind of come up and get back in the game was late in the second half when it felt like the game was already out of reach. Alabama dominated early on so much, or at least that's what it felt like to me. By the end, when they don't get that crucial third down, when they can't get the ball back, and you see just Ty Simpson. Also, we're going to talk about that penalty. I know we're going to talk about it later on in the show when our friend Jish Sokolsky.
I mean, I don't think you couldn't really hear the whistle. I don't think that's that crazy.
Right.
But beside the part, you bring up Ty Simpson there. His poise in the big moments, with how important that game was.
He was slinging it, man.
To go 13 for 19 on third down, you can't compliment him enough for going into that atmosphere at Sanford Stadium. They had the cool light-up wristbands, and he was incredible.
Look, I compare him and Julian Sain a lot. I think in a couple of years, they have the right pieces around them. I think these two guys are going to be some real ball slingers. They're going to be high draft picks one day. But Ty Simpson, what a good job to take down the Georgia Bulldogs. It was exciting me so much I can't talk over myself right now. Another game that was really exciting, Adam. We're going to stick in the SEC here. We're going to talk about Lane Kiffin a little bit and his Ole Miss Rebels, who went and defeated LSU 24-19. And this game was exciting for many reasons. Maybe because his daughter is dating LSU linebacker with Weeks, and you know, there's a lot of strange situations happening here. But all in all, this was a spectacular football game. And for me, I know Jackson Dart was here last year with Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. I think this may be the best Ole Miss team that he's had so far, and I think you saw it against LSU. I don't know. I don't know. I
think
really
that's a crazy take at all.
I like this team a lot.
With your backup quarterback to beat the number 4 team in the country, that's impressive. And for being a backup, how about Trinidad Chambliss? Now, I will say I don't like the Trinidad and Tobago flags because it gives me flashbacks to the U.S. men's national team losing to them and getting knocked out of the World Cup qualifying. But still, those flags are awesome. They're embracing the backup quarterback. And he was great in that game. I mean, running the ball, throwing the ball, just the poise against the top 5 team on the national stage to have another 300-yard performance as the backup. I mean, just so impressive from Chambliss.
Now, LSU is interesting because the wins that they had over the past few weeks seemed a lot better at the time than maybe they are now. You look at Florida, you look at Clemson, and it's like, eh. And Chambliss played spectacular against an LSU defense that held those teams to low scoring and did a really good job at it. And yet, LSU's offense continues to struggle to put up points at them. And Garrett Nussmeier, on the other side for LSU, just continues to go through these weird struggles. I mean, Brian Kelly said it himself. He has to play better. This is a guy who should be a top 10 pick, and he looks nothing like it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that this LSU defense is elite. It's going to be one of the better ones in the SEC all season long. They proved it at Ole Miss. But, yeah, Garrett Nussmeier is just not himself. I've seen some talk on social media that it looks like he might be injured. You can definitely tell maybe his mechanics have changed a tiny bit. I don't know if that's due to injury or just something he was working on in the offseason.
Look, you never know.
The stats show, some of that's also, I think, because of the play calling and the weapons changing, but the yards to go down by that much, the completion percentage going up, it doesn't make that much sense at the end of the day of why Nussmeier's not playing great. He has the talent. He showed it last year that he can be one of those guys who leads his team to the playoff, yet so far this season, I mean, he just simply hasn't had it. And
LSU and Brian Kelly, it was like this when he was with Notre Dame as well. They like to lean into the run game a lot, and we know that's Brian Kelly's offensive prowess. That's what he likes to do, pound the football. But now you're in the SEC, and a lot of these D-lines are just as good across the board. I mean, we talk about NFL-level talent, especially in this conference. That's not going to work, and you have a great quarterback at your disposal. Could it be an injury? Could it be changing of the mechanics? Sure, all those things. But at some point, you have to realize if you're Brian Kelly, you got to use the weapons that you have. Yeah. I mean, you have these wide receivers who are first-round draft picks.
Here's the thing, though. One more thing about this game that I think is really important to mention. Yeah. Lane Kiffin does this. He wins these big games early in the season. Is this Ole Miss team actually legit, though? Still haven't made a college football playoff. The big thing is in a couple weeks. They play Washington State this week. That's a win. Then at Georgia, at Oklahoma. Would you say, Lane has to win one of those 2 games and Ole Miss is in the playoff for sure, and you believe in him? I could see him going 0-2 easily, but, I mean, who knows? I think this is the season for Lane Kiffin.
It's the season for Lane Kiffin. Last year, they were ousted, and he threw a fit. I think he really has a vendetta against the College Football Playoff Committee, and I think he's really going to try and sneak in this year. And he needs to win these games. If he goes in and tells his team, we need to win all 3 of these games, I mean, I wouldn't expect nothing less.
Well, Lane Kiffin's always a personality, and of course, he showed it off after Ole Miss beat LSU.
Hope our fans had a good day. Appreciate them not rushing the field. So, but I think, not to take away from probably extra security, it probably helped. But to me, that's really cool that you get to a place at a program that you do beat the number 3 team in the country and you don't rush the field because we did what we're supposed to do. And that's win the game. And so that makes me happy that this program's got to that place.
I don't think you can have a Lane Kiffin press conference without some chuckling in there. He's a funny guy, but
he's so funny.
Let's talk field storming because we had one heck of a storm on Friday night when Virginia beat Florida State 46-38 in overtime. I mean, that was just an incredible college football game. What a way to start the weekend. Yeah. I said it at the time. The perfect Friday night football game. It was a standalone game.
Oh, my God.
You were locked into it,
100%.
And it was just incredible from start to finish.
Look, if you watch this show, us now on year 3, you know I'm a perennial FSU hater. We get that as well. I was very impressed with Thomas Castellanos and how he started the year. This game was kind of prime Castellanos is what we saw him in Boston College, where he runs around a lot, tries to make some spectacular plays, and sometimes it works out. But he also had a couple of crucial interceptions that just gave Virginia the opportunity. Mind you, you're on the road. You need to make sure you hold on to the ball. We know how talented of a rusher he is. But to get outplayed by Chandler Morris with Virginia at home and for them to just take control like that, you cannot afford to turn over the ball if you're FSU because you know Virginia plays sloppy offense altogether. Morris had 3 interceptions himself.
Yeah, I don't know how much I would say Morris necessarily outplayed him. Of course, he won the game. He had a couple of those red zone rushing touchdowns. But I think at the end of the day, this FSU defense was extremely disappointing in this game. I thought that they just were not very good, especially the way that they started the game, going down 14-0. You know, when you go down 14-0 in a night game on the road in an atmosphere like that, it's hard to come back, and that was just the case. They came out sleeping, and they never woke up.
No, they really did not. Shout out to Virginia Cavaliers. This is not the first time they've pulled up a big upset against the Seminoles in the past few years. It's their first home top 10 win since 2005.
Maybe a bit more than a few years.
I mean, yeah, we see it again over FSU. Every year, Virginia has a team where they just do this, and they have a couple crazy wins. If you watched our webisode on YouTube, you know we talked about the replay system as well. Look, in real time, I really thought that was a catch as well. And I thought FSU really was going to win that game at the end. And then Virginia just comes up so clutch. And here you see the big storming of the field. Something that Lane Kiffin really didn't want to happen.
That's scary.
I mean, there were people throwing obscenities in front of Thomas Castellanos that were caught on TV. FSU wide receiver getting trampled. Look, all credit to FSU. They didn't drop out of the top 25. I still think they have a lot of talent. They're a solid roster. Mike Norvell's a very good head coach. But for Virginia to go and win that game at home, 2-0 in the ACC to start the year when there's so much parity in college football, teams beating each other week after week, and right now they're undefeated in the conference. You like to see where you're at if you're Virginia. I don't think it's anything long-term for them, but a great win over against a very talented yet struggling top 10 opponent.
You say you don't think it's something long-term for Virginia. I don't think it is, but I'm excited to see where the Cavs go with Tony Elliott. You know, he is a good football coach. Sure. He was a really, really good offensive coordinator for Dabo Swinney at Clemson. I think part of the reason that the Tigers have fallen off over the last couple of years was losing Elliott and Brett Venables, who's, of course, now the head coach at Oklahoma. And Elliott's a good recruiter, especially for a program like Virginia. And I'm excited to see what he can do over these next couple of years. The ACC is wide open this year to start off 2-0, start off with the win against Florida State. You know, at this point, anything can happen.
One guy we didn't mention, shout out Randy Pittman Jr. had a throwing touchdown, rushing touchdown, and receiving touchdown in this game for the Seminoles. Obviously, they came out with the loss. Speaking of Pittman, I saw it up on our screen. Sam Pittman got fired this week, our Arkansas head football coach. And Adam, this led to a very interesting debate that we had off camera because guys like Sam Pittman, programs now firing their head coach midseason. It's not only a trend in the pros, but now because of money, because of boosters and buyouts, this is happening more often than not when teams are struggling. And it's kind of confusing to me, at least, where a program like Arkansas goes from here. You're already in the SEC. You're not going to be winning many games. We know that. It's a difficult schedule. But now you have potentially a chance to lose recruits. You're just kind of tanking. You have all these players on a team. It's so not competitive. Where do these programs go from here?
It's a weird spot to be in. I think that all three of the coaches that have got fired so far at the major schools, Brent Pry, Deshaun Foster, and Sam Pittman, all deserved it because those are three football programs that really care. Arkansas, Virginia Tech, and UCLA. Yeah. Those are teams that should be good, and they just simply were not. Now, I think Arkansas, compared to the other two, are in the best situation because the Razorbacks brought in their old head coach, Bobby Petrino, who got fired in one of the craziest controversies of all time.
Now he's back.
Let's not get into that.
He's running the ship.
They brought him back as the offensive coordinator, basically saying, oh, if Pittman's gone, then we'll bring him in as head coach.
It was only time.
It's just such a weird spot for these programs. I think it's a big opportunity for these players. I think that, all these guys have a chance to prove who they are because now you're playing for the portal. You are playing not just for your own coach, not just to come back to your school, but to show everyone else that you are a good player. You said, what if these players just enter the portal midseason? I think that if a player did that is the dumbest decision you could ever make. Yeah. Why would you not show more film of yourself to other coaches to show that you're good? Bet on yourself. I don't think anything changes for these programs. If anything, it's a reality check to the players. And, it's, hey, guys, we have to be better. We have to change. And I think it maybe sets a example for the next coach of, look, we're taking football really seriously right now. It also allows you to get into the hiring cycle earlier. In early November, you can start to interview guys. Fran Brown is going to be talking to those schools, I bet. And I think that helps out for next year and the year after that. But it's crazy. It is crazy, especially in September, to be firing your coach.
And college football, now we talk about it being like the NFL. You bring an interim in, you spend $50 million on these buyouts. You saw it up on your screen earlier. $50 million for all of those coaches, and Mike Gundy wasn't even on there as well. Gets fired from Oklahoma State. Well, these long-term coaches, Adam, are a lot of the reason why these kids go to these schools. And you're throwing all that money away that potentially you could have spent on some better players in the portal last offseason or in the offseasons prior. We have a lot more college football to get to. More debates like this when our friend Jish Sokolsky joins us in his Juicer debut. Stay with us. You don't want to see Adam and Jish go at it. It's going to be ugly.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Welcome back into No Pulp. We're standing over here in the juicer. Adam Gotkin, Adam Avin, joined by Jish Sokolsky. Thanks for joining us, my friend.
Of course.
Jish, it's your juicer debut, but you're a No Pulp veteran. If you don't know, Jish was the executive producer of the infamous No Pulp podcast. He is very familiar with debates just like this and segments just like this. You think you can take down one of the guys?
Take a little bit of exception to you calling it infamous. I think it was the
famous
podcast. But yes, I'm quite familiar with this. I'm ready to do battle with my friend Adam Gotkin here.
All right, here we go. Well, we're gonna get started. You're the visitor. It's your first time on. We're gonna go to you first. There were a lot of great games this weekend, but what game to you stood out the most as the best game?
Well, I'm gonna answer that question with a question of my own. What do you look for in a great game? Explosive plays, defensive touchdowns, overtime? Well, let me tell you something. Tennessee versus Mississippi State had all that and so much more. This was a game in which really you didn't know who was going to win until the final horn sounded. Credit to Mississippi State, a team that only won 2 games last year, coming out showing a lot of fight, but Tennessee proved to be the more mentally prepared and tough teams. 2 defensive touchdowns. Adam, I know you said they didn't have a very good defense, but you see on your screen right there, that's a pick 6. They had a fumble 6 earlier in the game too. I loved watching this game through and through. I was sat in my couch and I could not keep my eyes away from it. It just had everything. There's no way that any other game could be considered the game of the week.
I mean, yeah, it was a great football game, but it was a great week of college football all around. The game of the week, let's not kid ourselves here. Let's not try and, work around it. It was the game between the number 3 team and 6 team in the country in front of the most electric atmosphere in the sport that went to overtime. I mean, what are we talking about here? Of course it was Oregon-Penn State that was the game of the week. It was incredible. Tied at halftime, tied at the end of the game. 2 top 10 teams in the country. You literally cannot ask for anything more when you talk about a good game. It was incredible. 8 fourth down conversions. Very few penalties. Neither team was turning the ball over. They were just playing really good football. Yeah, it was defensive. That's fun. And then towards the end, you have the chaos of both offenses turning on towards the end of the game. And then overtime in front of that crowd, I mean, you can't beat it. Let's not kid ourselves here.
It was tied at halftime, tied at 3. I was falling asleep. What do you mean the game of the week?
Look, I love the passion from both of you, but Jish, you were a producer yourself. You lead the show with the biggest game, and it goes to Adam Gotkin for the first point. That's why we talked that game. Kick a conference game, whiteout. I mean, come on, that's the best game of the weekend. Adam, we're going to go to you here for question number 2. Out of all these games, which were amazing, there had to have been a really terrible player performance, but which one had the worst?
Well, I'm going to one from that Oregon versus Penn State game, and to me, it's all about Nick Singleton, the running back for the Nittany Lions. Look, he was just awful in this game. He is supposed to be one of the best running backs in the country. 5 touchdowns through the first 3 games. 11 carries for 21 yards with a max carry of 6 yards. He just wasn't good. He had 105 yards on 10 carries in the Big Ten title game last year against Oregon. He has what it takes, and he just didn't show up. In these massive games, you have to establish the run. You have to help out your quarterback. And Nick Singleton is supposed to be maybe the best running back in the country, and he was just non-existent.
Adam, let me open with this statement here. When you're early, you're on time.
With a lot of things.
When you're on time, you're late. When you're late, you might as well not show up. When you're as late as Ellis Robinson was, the corner from Georgia, you are the worst player in college football in the week. You're going to see this play in just a second. Look at this. 3rd and 1, crucial moment of the game. 2 minutes left. Oh, he's jumping in there like he's Frankie Louvu in the NFC Championship game. That's a late flag. That's a 15-yard penalty. That lost Georgia the game. This was a winnable game. Only 3 points. That wasn't its only boneheaded play. He got absolutely torched on a slant route in the red zone, gave him a touchdown. Those are 2 plays that if Georgia has it any other way, they win this game. So because Ellis Robinson, the number one player in high school out of his recruiting class, makes 2 boneheaded plays to lose the game, you're the worst player.
I didn't hear the whistle. It was loud.
I gotta say,
you weren't there.
That's a good point. I gotta say, I wasn't expecting that answer at all. I really wasn't, which is kind of why I want to give you the points for this. I'm giving Jish these 2 points because, seriously, that's like the worst. It wasn't the worst player necessarily. It was the worst performance. And for him to go and do that, I mean, talking about performing badly on that big of a scale, Jish Sokolsky, you get those 2 points there. So there's no bonus question. This decides the winner of the Juicer. Adam, we're coming back to you for this final question. Out of all these games, out of all these player performances, which coach had the most to gain from this past weekend?
We've already talked about him, but for me, it's got to be Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. And like I said this for the last couple answers, I don't really think it's close. When we went on our first show this year, I was talking about firing Kalen DeBoer. I didn't think that he was anywhere close to being a good coach, but to be the first team to beat Georgia at Georgia since 2019, I mean, you can't give him anything else other than praise. I mean, how about that screen pass to Caden Proctor, being creative with your unbelievably athletic left tackle and gaining almost a touchdown on that play?
That was wild.
And then also you just talk about how disciplined his team was. Only 4 penalties. That was such a massive issue early in the season. He cleaned that up. He cleaned up a lot of the tackling with his defense. Kalen DeBoer has brought his team back into national relevance by being legit. People were ready to write them off at the start of the season.
All right, from fired to now a frenzy. What you got?
We're talking about a coach who gained the most. Kalen DeBoer beat a much better Georgia team last year. When we're talking about a coach that gained something, I brought my hot sauce for this one because this might be a hot take. Brent Key of Georgia Tech. He was the coach that gained the most this weekend. A huge comeback win to cement himself as a top 2 coach in the ACC.
What?
I said it, a top 2 coach in the ACC. It's him and Dabo Swinney. He's won in so many different ways. He came back from down 17. His offense looked lifeless. He went in at halftime, made the adjustments. His team wins a gutsy 1-point win that really came down to the wire. Sure, it's Wake Forest. I know they didn't beat a good team per se, but the fact that he kept his team in it long enough and saw it through to the very end, it's got to be Brent Key for me. You look at all the upsets he's had in his career and the fact that he just came back this week, it's got to be Brent Key.
They almost lost to a bad Wake Forest. The ACC apologized for its officials missing a call that would have lost them the game. The conference apologized.
Understand that.
They've apologized a lot of times this year.
All right, understand both those arguments. Look, here's the thing. And by the way, if you ever throw hot sauce in my studio again and it's splattered on a camera, are you kidding me? Anyways, look, I understand Brent Key. My thing with him is I feel like he did a lot of proving himself when they already had their big win this year. Kalen DeBoer was finally looking for it. Adam Gotkin wins the juicer. Yeah. I mean, they beat the Georgia Bulldogs.
He almost lost to Wake Forest.
Yeah, look, I mean, I love him as a head coach, but I mean, that's the guy you got to talk about. We look at our juicer standings here. Jish, don't worry, you're at the bottom, but you're in the cutoff. But you still have an opportunity. If producer Connor has you back on, you have an opportunity. Adam Gotkin, though, in 3rd place, right behind me. Good shout. Anyways, we're talking about some more coaches that had a lot to gain, a lot to lose, and where they sit on the hot seat right now. Stay with us.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back into No Pulp. Adam Gotkin, Adam Avin, and we've got a fun little game to play right now. Hot seat. Pretty self-explanatory.
Where's the seat?
Yeah, I know. We lost our chairs. But we're going to be talking about coaches, whether they're on the hot seat, whether they're safe, warming up, toasty, or on fire. Right. We'll start things off with a coach that we talked about a little bit earlier, a guy who lost a big game on the road this week, Brian Kelly, one of the more controversial guys in college football. I'll never forget that spinning thing with the recruit. He's awkward, he's weird, but is he on the hot seat?
But look how much Ori he has with his hand, trying to put his hand in his pocket too.
Just missing completely.
Yeah, not good, not like me. Look, here's the thing with Brian Kelly. We talked about the buyouts before, $50 million, all those types of money. I guess it doesn't matter anymore. I think regardless of what his buyout is, I think he's safe. But I do think it is warming up a little bit, which is why I kind of have it in the middle. Look, we know the kind of caliber of a head coach that Brian Kelly is, but we also know that for the majority of his career, he hasn't done much. He hasn't won that big game. Where is the championship? I don't know. He doesn't have it, right?
At Notre Dame, it was the same thing. We talked about losing every season opener since he's been here at LSU. He finally did it this year, and from that opening win, Adam, it's continued to go back down for Brian Kelly and LSU. The offense has struggled, and he's an offensive guy for the most part. I think he's safe just because of the how renowned he is as a head coach. But it's getting up there for fans. I mean, we're starting to feel it.
Yeah, I think he's safe. Look, I understand all the hate around Brian Kelly. He's a weird guy. But the fact of the matter is he's a good college football coach. Yeah. And, he may not be winning the national championship or making the college football playoff, but a 4-4 record against top 10 opponents is not a bad thing. And, yes, he just lost on the road at Ole Miss, but that's a tough place to win. And, right. You know what? You lose to a top 15 team in the country. So be it. I think that LSU is going to be just fine. I think that Brian Kelly is going to be just fine. Here's the thing about LSU. You just kind of need to get lucky. Coach O was not a great coach. But he got lucky with that he had so much talent on that team.
Sure.
At a place like LSU, you just got to find the right team, and there's no reason to say Brian Kelly can't do that.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Speaking of a guy who also went to another team, let's turn our attention to Lincoln Riley, the quarterback whisperer who went from Oklahoma, now he's at USC, famously worked with Caleb Williams, now in the NFL. Adam, where do you have Lincoln Riley? Is he on the hot seat? How hot is it getting?
He's not on the hot seat just yet. I think that part of the thing with Lincoln Riley is you look at the past success, and you do have to believe in it a little bit. I have him at warming up. I maybe, after thinking about it a little bit more, probably would have put him closer to Toasty. The thing is you just watch USC, and they are not a top 25 team in the country. They don't look like it. They turn the ball over. They play bad defense. All the signs of having a bad culture around the football team, they're there with Lincoln Riley, and his clock management is god-awful. He just doesn't have it. Now, here's the thing. He's got the #1 recruiting class in the country for next year. So that'll keep him around, I think, at least for another season.
And why?
That's
Money,
why, at the end of the day, he's at warming up, because of that recruiting class next year. But I don't see it. He had Caleb Williams and didn't do great.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you here. But for me, I got to go with safe.
Really?
I mean, yeah, because...
What's 7-6 last year?
I know, but also you lose Caleb Williams last year, and that's a guy who won you games before that. And honestly, to me, there's something weird that he can just never have a good defense ever. To me, it's very similar as a Florida fan watching Dan Mullen for those 4 years he was coaching the Gators. And he had his guy Todd Grantham with him for those 4 years. It's like, dude, he's not a good defensive coordinator. Get rid of him. How do you have the talent? I think Lincoln Riley has the talent. The defense can just never put it together. There's always promise with the offense. And if he can continue to score points, which they can for the most part, I think he's going to be fine. Next year, he's going to bring in his guys. I think he'll be all right.
All right, we'll see. Well, our final coach here, we're going to Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. He had so much success at Cincinnati, brought them to the playoff, but, man, the Badgers are struggling.
Look, I have to check here because the more I've thought about this since our pre-show, rundown meeting, I might put him up there, but I have him at Toasty. And the reason is because we talk about fandom in college football. Luke Fickell is coaching a Wisconsin program that has fans fed up. And it was fine for a while because of what he did with Cincinnati. He took the Bearcats team to the college football playoff when it was just 4 teams. We know how crazy that is and what a good coach he can be. But now he should be at a school, Adam, where he should be getting more recruits, be getting more talent, and he can't put it together right now. I mean, it's just not good.
Fire him. On fire. Out. Luke Fickell is an awful head coach. 7-6 in year 1.
I can't
5-7 in year 2.
To be honest.
Then you lose at home by 17 points to the University of Maryland.
Yeah.
Now, look, I love my Terps. I think Malik Washington might be the best freshman in the country right now.
Oh.
But it's Maryland, and you lose by 17 at home. This is a Wisconsin program that has been ranked in the top 10 10-win seasons this century. They've been ranked in the top 10 about that many times, too. The expectations are high, and Luke Fickell just has not been the guy there. It's unfortunate.
I understand that.
I like him. I think he's a good guy. Our good friend Marie Wainscott was his kid's babysitter, so shout out Luke Fickell.
I know that.
But you know what? At the end of the day, not a great coach, so unfortunately, sorry, Maria, we're firing
We got to
you.
end the segment with the guy on the hottest seat right now.
Yeah, that's how we have to do it. All right, well, we'll step aside here on No Pulp. When we come back, we've got our plays of the week and our final words. Don't go anywhere.
You've messed up your son's haircut.
Mom?
Do you A, try to fix it?
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got? Or C, show solidarity?
Thank you, baby.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
And we're back, and we got to end the show with some excitement. Adam Gotkin, Adam Avin here with you for the last time on this episode of No Pulp. And what better way to end off than with some of the most exciting plays from this week. So we got to turn our attention to one of the craziest plays I've ever seen. Notre Dame with a spectacular fake punt. I mean, oh my God. Well, we got to take a look. Hopefully we can get up in a second. It was one of the craziest things that I've ever seen. That not only did they fake the cameraman out, they run a fake end around, toss it back, he throws it. And you know when they did this play? When they were up 42-13. It did not matter. Why? Why do you waste such a beautiful, spectacular fake punt from Notre Dame when it literally, Adam, does not matter? But look, I love to see it, and I know we talked about Sam Pittman earlier in the show. That might be the fake punt that got Sam Pittman fired. Because it was that good. It was that good.
Well, that was a cool play.
Yeah.
You know me, I love to go for maybe the smaller games when I go with my play of the week.
Yeah.
And if I see a big boy touchdown, I got to go with the big boy touchdown as my play of the week. Paul Hudson, defensive tackle on Marshall, tips it up, picks it off. And how about the big fellow rumbling down the field, taking it all the way to the house. First career interception, a 46-yard return for the TD. What a game that was, by the way. Louisiana beats Marshall 54-51 in double overtime. Hudson's pick, just not enough.
All right, well, it's time for our final words after some spectacular plays of the week. And if you didn't hear, the ACC just announced a 9-game schedule. And like myself, it had a lot of college football fans say, okay, but why? Will this change our rivalries? Will this hurt my favorite sport? The NCAA, I'll just be the one to say it. Please stop. Stop confusing us. Conferences, stop changing rules and schedules and everything we know about the college sports that we love, please. You know what made the PS5 so exciting? Because Sony waited 7 years to release it. Everyone wanted it. College football is becoming like the iPhone to me. Way too many updates and a new phone every year. Sure, the product is shiny and exciting, but can't we just enjoy it for a while before the next one comes out right away? Over the past 5 years, so many teams have switched conferences that some don't even exist anymore. Especially in college football, it's become so easy to find loopholes that there are no waiting periods for anything. Just this month, the NCAA changed the transfer portal rule again. Now there's only a period in the winter, but then if your head coach gets fired mid-season, you can transfer in a special period. And don't even get me started on NIL. There are literally no rules anymore. All these constant changes that you think might be helping the game, NCAA, in fact, they make even the diehardiest of college football fans confused and annoyed. All the switching is ruining the fan experience. I'm exhausted.
I hate to say it, I think that's a horrible take. I love all the changes. I think that college football is in an incredible spot right now. And I think that these changes have done something that maybe people didn't think would happen, but now has happened. And that's that these games are going to be incredibly competitive all throughout conference play. We talk so much about how the biggest schools pick up the biggest transfers, but something that doesn't get talked about as much is how those bottom teams in the ECC, the SEC, the Big Ten are also picking up very talented players from the group of 5. Those guys are complete game changers and difference makers. You look at a school like Syracuse, they're able to go get a guy like Kyle McCord, and boom, they're a 10-win team. There are opportunities for these programs to do stuff that they haven't done before because they can build through the portal. They can get guys who maybe have flown under the radar. They didn't have to just get 5 and 4 stars out of high school and hope and pray that it all worked out. We saw the competitiveness this past weekend. Close game after close game, whether it was between ranked teams or a ranked team and an unranked team. Incredible football all around, and I love these changes. Sorry, Adam.
I don't. NIL used to be for making car commercials and giving the players some extra dough, and now it's turned into something completely different.
They're getting paid for the money that they
It's changed
give to
the whole
schools,
landscape
yeah.
of the game, and it's annoying me. Go back to the old college football. Thanks for watching this episode of No Pulp. Alongside Adam Gotkin, I'm Adam Avin. Enjoy the rest of the college football slate. We'll see you next time.